And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Barton Simmons. That's Tom Fornelli. I'm Chip Patterson. We're here on a Saturday night, 12 a.m. on the East Coast. We've still got some Week 14 action, including some Sunday action that is going to include the USC Trojans, but they are not part of our recap. We do have a lot to get to. We've got finally an answer in that BYU Coastal showdown. We finally got some solidifying of the top teams in the entire country, but I feel like we really need to begin with Rice getting it done, 20-0, top 25 win. I realized that Rice had been mentioned on this podcast probably 6 or 7 times more often than the opponent that Rice played today. Barton, you singled him out. Mike Bloomgren, he was like, that was Stanford's identity. That was your offensive line coach. Like that was somebody who helped forge what made Stanford the way we imagine it. He was going to go to Rice. He was going to make it happen. We've ridden it up and down with the Owls. Do you feel a little bit of validation with Rice's top 25 win today?
Yeah, well, little known fact, Rice was my runner-up for my Group of 5 fandom, and so there is a part of me that's very proud to see my Rice Owls pull off such a significant upset win in this shortened season. By the way, Brian Smith, their defensive coordinator, they shut out their top 25 opponent. He is a Don Brown disciple. So,
well, Don Brown's getting washed out.
I know. It's working somewhere.
What's crazy, like, did you look at the box score for this game?
I mean, Grant Wells was supposed to be the quarterback we were so excited about. And I know that like Brendan Knox, the Marshall running back, I said their name. Crap. Running joke is that Marshall's been really good, and I feel like we don't talk about Marshall on the Cover 3 podcast, but Brendan Knox, the running back for Marshall, has been awesome all season, and Grant Wells stepped up. He was an instant impact freshman. He threw 5 freaking interceptions in this game. I mean, if you throw 5 interceptions, you're going to lose most football games, and especially against a team that's going to play ball control like Rice. Jeez.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Rice only had 215 yards of offense in this game. It's really hard to win a football game when you only have 215 yards of offense.
But 5 interceptions.
Yeah, I know. That's why it won. It's just because I looked it up. I was like, when the hell was the last time that happened? And it happens more often than you think, because, in fact, it's happened, let's see, 1, 2, 4 times this season alone. Louisiana Tech beat UTEP with 210 yards. Kentucky beat Mississippi State with 157 yards. Indiana beat Penn State in that great game at the start of the season with only 211 yards. And Mississippi State, again, involved in one of these games, but this time on the winning end when it beat Vanderbilt.
Yeah, this is a day of big boy ball resurgence, you know? Another spot where we saw big boy ball resurgence was when Washington tried to big boy ball Stanford, of all people. And Stanford big boy balled Washington back at them, even though Stanford has been practicing in like Washington's practice facilities and like local community centers and parks. And they went and they put it on Washington like we're back in 2012 or something.
I told you guys on the lock spot. I said I just had a gut feeling about this one. I only took Stanford to cover, but it was just there was some sort of weird feeling about this game to me. I was like, I don't know.
Is it still a distrust of Washington offensively because they were slow starting? Like they couldn't get anything going early. Eventually, Dylan Morris kind of, what do you see? Finishes 15 for 23, 254 yards. I didn't see from what I like when I was checking in on this game. I never felt like Washington's offense was really dominant. What are the issues here?
I don't think, they had some big plays. There was a 42-yard completion or 2 42-yard completions, a 37-yard completion at 25. So they had some big plays in the passing game, but my concern going in was just that I don't think they're very explosive on offense. And I think that they're more conservative on offense. And I think that, like you said, Barton, they tried to play that Stanford big boy ball from a few years ago that we used to see. But I just don't know if Washington has the personnel for that yet.
So we also see Cal take down Oregon. That's a wrap. I mean, what's interesting about the Pac-12? Like, we can get into like the minute school by school interesting narratives and talking points, which we of course we are, but what can you sell me on from the Pac-12 between now and December 20th when we start to get into like bowl motivation pick 'em?
I'll tell you what I'll sell you on. If USC beats Wazoo tomorrow, which is not a guarantee, but if it does, the Pac-12 needs to do what the ACC's done, what the SEC's done, what the Big Ten should do, and reconsider things and set it up so that its championship game can be USC and Colorado, because we're looking at a situation where both USC and Colorado might be 5-0, but Colorado will not be eligible to play in the Pac-12 championship, even though its game against USC was canceled because of whatever the tiebreakers are. USC would get that spot over the Buffs. So the Pac-12 could be in a situation where it's keeping its two best teams out of the title game and just kind of handicapping its tiny little itty bitty chances of getting a playoff berth to begin with.
Jarek Broussard rushed for 300 yards today.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
Their sack-adjusted rushing yards for Colorado was 9.1 yards per carry. Arizona was 7.7 yards per carry. So they both could run the ball a little bit. But Colorado's undefeated?
Mm-hmm.
Is that possibly true?
Yes. Good football team.
Good football team, man. Carl Durrell got the job in like June, and he's got them undefeated.
Coach of the year.
I go back to, I mean, I feel like Emory put us onto that one early. Like Colorado's first game out, he was like, listen, I think Carl Durrell's a pretty good football coach, and I'm going to buy into that. And I'll take Emory's word on that one. I was like, okay, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I was more like, I don't know, but no, he's proven to be right.
Okay. So we have not at all yet talked about the top 25 game down in Conway, South Carolina. BYU, any place, anytime, any opponent. They pick up that check. They say, you know what? We can send that equipment truck right now. We will plan all night. We will do all-nighters to get ready for Coastal Carolina. But they go and they fall. Close, low-scoring game. What's the big feeling here?
You know, I owe you an apology, Barton. I also owe Danny an apology because, what was it, 2 weeks ago when we were getting into the debate about whether BYU should have accepted the game against Washington, and I was making the argument for why it made sense for BYU to say no because, you know, Washington could have backed out. And even though that's exactly what did happen, I was wrong. BYU should have taken that game against Washington because BYU might have beaten Washington. It lost to Coastal.
But here's the thing, though, and now we know. Like BYU, when they took the game against Coastal, they lost. They should still be glad they took that game because they went and had an opportunity to prove something. They just came up short. And as fun as that game was, and that felt like the biggest game of the night. It had the best energy about it. It was one of the more entertaining games of the year. But that was not two playoff caliber teams on the field. It just wasn't.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that makes it tough about the game of the night, game of the day, game of the week type declarations. Like, there is two different flavors behind when you understand that two big boys are out there, like two heavyweights are out there going like blow for blow. That wasn't what we saw. It was a great college football game. So much fun, but it was not two heavyweights going at it. Shout out to Jamie Chadwell in Coastal Carolina for getting that win. Shout out to the Black Swarm defense for doing a good job against that BYU offense that had been so prolific against so many teams. You
Shout
know,
out to their bowling ball center. What is he, 5'9" and 285 pounds?
yeah,
Yeah.
getting it done. Let's go.
Getting it done in the trenches. No, it was a fun game. I agree. Like there was a reaction on social media to it, like that was the game of the year. And I was like, all right.
Pass.
Let's pump the brakes a little bit, guys. It was a fun football game. It wasn't the best game we've seen all year, but it was, I was impressed by the fact that Coastal was really able to kind of dominate the ball on the ground and just run pretty much, not at will, because they weren't like busting off a ton of huge runs, but they were staying on schedule for the most part the entire game. That offensive line, and I thought that was going to be like a serious problem for them in this matchup. I just thought BYU had too many athletes and kind of dudes compared to what Coastal had, and they weren't going to be able to hold up over 60 minutes. But they didn't get like cute or try to, like be sneaky and speedy. They just kind of got physical with them, and they did enough and they won enough to keep the ball and keep control of the game. I mean, if you'd have told me Coastal's going to win this game while Grayson McCall only throwing for 85 yards, I'd have been like, well, how many times did BYU turn the ball over? You know what I mean? But it's like that was just a really impressive performance from the Shots, man. Kudos to them.
Cougar left Myrtle Beach dissatisfied. Doesn't happen very often.
Well,
I think I got to give the credit. I think Marty Smith was where I saw something. He tweeted something about that. It's good. It's a good line.
I mean, if BYU might not even be down with caffeine, how are you going to enjoy the flavors of Myrtle Beach?
That's right.
All right. So as we start to look at the way that things are starting to break down up top, we've got Ohio State's 40-point win against Michigan State, Texas A&M. All right. So I feel like there's.
Hold on. I think we are. I don't know how long we've been doing this pod. I think we got to hit the breaking news. Like this, this is basically an emergency pod
For Shane Beamer?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got a new head coach at South Carolina.
Okay.
We're gonna bury the lead here.
All right. Real quick. So later in the show, after the ad break, I will apologize to Iowa State and Texas A&M because I've been hating on y'all so hard. Multi-platform hating. That has been me. I've been out here just against you, and your love will come. But we do need to address the breaking news. So Shane Beamer, head coach of South Carolina, many threads to this. We have included the I feel like our collective understanding is that former players have really helped push this to the finish line. Power brokers within the South Carolina community are all bought in. We also have other threads to explore, like how Louisville fans are irate with Scott Satterfield's reported involvement with this job, and Billy Napier getting to beat the drum after beating App State for the first time and being able to say, yeah, I talked to South Carolina. Nah, I'm good. I'm here at Louisiana.
Yeah, and then like 2 minutes later, Bruce Feldman's reporting that they're hiring Beamer. So I don't know if that was as much Napier backing out, or it might have been. He might have said no.
No one ever offers a job and is turned down, and no one ever like says no. We know how these things work. So 24/7 has been on this. Mm-hmm. What are the boots on the ground saying on the way this went down?
I don't know. The mechanics of how this went down, or what the chronology of this was over the course of this evening, I don't know. More generally, I'd like to dig in on this a little bit. I don't know whether hires are going to be good hires or bad hires. It's impossible to know. And I think being in that room, interviewing somebody, having the conversations that you have from references and former players, and sitting in an interview room and hearing the vision, all those sort of things are how you figure out if a hire is going to be a good hire. And I wasn't in those conversations, but I don't get it, man. I don't get it. The South Carolina just fired Will Muschamp and we're like, we're not going defense again. We're like, so they went special teams. What are we doing? Like, I do not personally know Shane Beamer. I've never talked to him in my life. I feel a little bit left out because I think everybody else seems to have a really good relationship with him because everybody is
got
on
a lot
this
of good
train.
relationships with all the right people in the meeting.
It's what it feels like. It's what it feels like. It feels like he is just, you know what? Like he's made a lot of friends, hadn't made many enemies, and he's associated with Lincoln Riley. And I mean, look, like I said, I didn't think Carterell was going to be a good hire. And it appears that it has been. I think I did say I thought Sam Pittman would be a good hire, but I don't know. That felt a little different than this to me for some reason. I just don't like. I just don't know like that. This is a risky move for South Carolina to after hiring Will Muschamp with his resume to go with another sort of like not exactly bulletproof resume. And you got a guy like Jamie Chadwell sitting here in your backyard. You're making the Shane Beamer hire the night that Jamie Chadwell and Coastal Carolina in your own state win like the biggest game of the weekend to continue an undefeated season and probably creep up towards the top 10. Like this is just a little bit like like the whole time when his name was emerging, I was like, okay, well, surely this is just like, you know, him pulling the strings that he's got as his media cronies. No, I guess this was the real deal all along.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised that it happened just because all the word in recent days and weeks was pointing to this, it was going this direction. But it's still, when the South Carolina job first came open, and I was with you when Shane Beamer's name first started popping up, I was like, oh, somebody's got some friends. But yeah, I mean, like you said, there's no way to know how a hire is going to work out. There's no formula for finding a coach who's going to be successful. It's just looking at Shane Beamer's resume and what he's done, and then comparing it to some of the other guys who were candidates for the job. Or if we just want to bring up Billy Napier, who, you know, on Friday night picked up a big win of his own, finally getting the Appalachian State monkey off his back, getting the Mountaineers out of the way. He's going to be playing Coastal Carolina for the Sun Belt title. I look at that. I see a guy who's taken over a program which was already, to be fair, in pretty good position that he took over, but he's
at Louisiana.
Yeah.
They had hit a couple losing seasons.
Yeah, but they weren't like doormat level though. Like there was at least a decent foundation there for him to build on, and he did a good job of building it up, changing the culture, and making it one of the top programs in the Sun Belt, and a team that, you know, was playing for a conference title the last few years and was kind of reaching that spot where it was expected to again this year, and it is. And I see that a guy that's already shown an ability to do that. And to me, if I'm in charge of making the hire, that's more appealing to me than Shane Beamer, who maybe, you know, my donors like, my former players like, and that's great. And I guess, you know, obviously they're going to have an influence over you if your job, you know, if the donors at your school are going to have an influence over what you do, because, you know, you want them to keep giving you the money that you need. So, but I'm kind of scratching my head a little bit at this one, but again, Shane Beamer could be great for South Carolina. So I don't know.
There is one position that I would understand, and it is that I do think Will Muschamp upgraded some infrastructure. I think he did a good job of coming in and pointing at some things and being like, all right, so these are ways that we can change our facilities. These are ways that we can change some of the details. These are ways we can probably make some money go far, you know, not a big investment like we're going to change our whole stadium, but investments in some of the other facilities. And I really think that under Will Muschamp, South Carolina has improved in that area. So I will hear an argument for saying I would rather take someone like a Shane Beamer, who at least has the experience at those kind of programs, than I'm going to give it to Jamie Chadwell, or I'm going to give it to Billy Napier. Though, hold on.
Napier's got experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, as soon as I say it, Alabama, Clemson, Like, yeah. But Jamie Chadwell, I guess, is the example that probably had me going down this road. The idea for Shane Beamer being, we have upgraded all the tools and he has been somewhere where all of these tools have been available. He'll understand how to utilize them. I'll hear that argument. I will give Shane Beamer that, at least as he starts his South Carolina tenure.
It's just so it's so maddening to me that to hear like just the idea of like, first of all, I am not saying that Shane Beamer is a bad hire because he's just a special teams coordinator. Like, I'm just saying, if you're going to sort of say we're not making another defensive hire, and then you go and hire a special teams coordinator, like, to me, that indicates some sort of baseline misunderstanding of like how to hire a coach. Like, you should be hiring the best coach to build the best culture within your building. And if it's Shane Beamer, then great. But then, like, why are we even saying, we're pulling this like narrative of no defensive coaches? Like, you can find a defensive coach like that isn't Will Muschamp. Like, not just because Will Muschamp didn't work, I mean, they all don't work. I'm sort of on a kick right now with that because it's just like a frustrating viewpoint. It's like, what are we doing? Like, there's great defensive coaches everywhere that are head coaches right now.
But athletic directors might also just be throwing out that line to just give some candy to sell, like a certain set of like.
No, because I heard like back channel that like, if you're a defensive coach, like, need not apply to that job.
Gross. Okay.
So like, if Nick Saban had applied, they'd have been like, "Sorry, coach, we're looking to go a different direction. we don't like your kind around here."
They may have let Nick in the door. I don't know.
Would they have taken Gary Patterson? Would they have taken him before he took down Oklahoma State at home?
Is that a segue?
No, not at all. I tried to come up with the first like defensive coach that came to mind. TCU getting it done on the GD field just happened to be on the mind.
And I'm not pro defensive coaches either. I'm just like I think one of the appeals of Jamie Chadwell, the offense is great. The offense is nice. But I think point number one of why Jamie Chadwell is an intriguing candidate is the way those guys play for each other, like the energy that they have, the excitement and enthusiasm that they bring to the field. Like, that is an indication of a really good culture. And so I just think that's the kind of thing people should be looking at.
Coming up on the other side, we take a look at some of the biggest results from throughout the weekend. And again, an apology for Iowa State next. So I'm not going to be that apologetic with my apology. I will say that sometimes when you have to sell your case, I will not apologize for thinking that Iowa State played poorly against Texas and that they did not look like a great team, that they were fortunate to win that game. And I feel like in my analysis of Iowa State, I was mostly overlooking, was it the Kansas State game that was 45-0?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just an absolute thumping. And like, the offense was clicking 100%. I maintain, even as Brock Purdy had a couple touchdowns in this game, that Brock Purdy still to this day, as Iowa State clinches a spot in the Big 12 championship game, doesn't feel like the Brock Purdy that was sold to me. I feel like I'm still falling short of my expectations, and maybe that is my fault for not adjusting my expectations. But Iowa State total team win, absolutely running it against West Virginia, 42-6. Oklahoma, not as impressive, 27-14 against Baylor. How do we feel about the Big 12 picture right now?
Well, I do think today was Brock Purdy's best game of the year, because like, the reason I was on the under in this game and I was on West Virginia was because matchup wise, this was an Iowa State team to me that was kind of, run heavy and dependent on Breece Hall all season long, because Brock Purdy hadn't had a great season, and West Virginia defensively was very good against the run, and regular metrics, advanced metrics, anywhere you looked, they were one of the top defenses, and they actually did do a decent job of limiting Breece Hall. They held him to 4.4 yards per carry, even though he finished with 97 yards and a touchdown. He wasn't able to get really going with big runs, and as a team, Iowa State only averaged 5.4 yards per carry. But it was Purdy going 20 or 23 for 247 yards and 3 touchdowns, who really kind of stepped up and made a lot of big plays for them. So I think if Brock Purdy plays well, I mean, watching Oklahoma tonight as well against Baylor, who defensively is tough, and they could be a pain in the butt for anybody, and they've shown that at times. But like, this was an Oklahoma team that we'd spent the last few weeks talking about being a team that was really kind of one of the best teams in the country, and it was just flying under the radar because it had 2 losses and nobody was paying attention to it. Tonight, Oklahoma still looked fantastic defensively, but that could also be Baylor not being great on offense. It was just offensively, they kind of looked a little, like there was a hitch in the giddy up, kind of like we'd seen earlier in the year, where it just wasn't smooth. It wasn't efficient. And you're just kind of scratching your head compared to what you usually see from Oklahoma. So like, if that Oklahoma offense shows up to the Big 12 title game, and Brock Purdy that played today shows up to the Big 12 title game, Iowa State could get Oklahoma and win the Big 12 title. I mean, I think they're good enough.
I think they are. I think Oklahoma, I don't think Oklahoma is a playoff team after this weekend.
No.
Only because they needed to, they couldn't blink. They needed to continue to rattle off blowout win after blowout win after blowout win. So now I think the Big 12 is out of the playoffs. They probably were anyways, but I was continuing to hold out this sort of possibility of Oklahoma making a dark horse run, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen anymore, especially now that no other teams are really losing. But yeah, I mean, I think Iowa State is, I think they could win it. I kind of hope they do. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
It would be fun. It'd be fun to see Iowa State win a Big 12 championship before Matt Campbell heads off to Michigan.
Iowa State.
You just sneaked that in there.
I mean, I've been passing along the Photoshops. I'm in. So Iowa State fans, this is supposed to be an apology, and now I'm telling you that I'm going to send your head coach off.
We can't make
or Texas. That's the other option.
Because Texas,
I don't think you can fire Tom Herman after you hang 60 plus.
I don't think Tom Herman is going to get fired.
Really?
Unless hold on. And by the way, this is speculation. This isn't reporting. But I think if you don't have if you have Urban lined up, then yes, Tom Herman is gone. If you don't have Urban Meyer lined up, what are you gonna what's your game plan here?
Matt Campbell might be a good hire.
Yeah, Billy Napier's still available.
I mean, because that's like the old Lance Leipold play is he's just a football coach, right? I mean, he just any division, any level, guy he knows how to coach football. Let the other cooks do their job, and let Matt Campbell just go coach football.
Do you think there's any part of Matt Campbell that would maybe just say no to that?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
I do. Yes, I do too.
I think there's a part of Matt Campbell who might say no to Michigan.
Yeah, but Michigan,
it's not the same thing as Texas.
I feel like Michigan is a little more up his alley.
Yeah,
but it's Ohio State or Notre Dame.
Well, I think it's Texas is just such it's like this monstrosity that you have to tame. And I think Matt Campbell, so the person that's the great Texas hire is this beast tamer. And I think Matt Campbell's more of a football coach that wants to just sort of be able to recruit 3 stars if he wants to and build a culture the way he wants to without the heat on his neck for you went 9-3 this year. That's not how things work around here. I just wonder if he's down for that.
So I don't know these circles, but I think that's where you have to look at Chris Del Conte and just like wonder if like does it take the right athletic director coach combination, or is there an assistant athletic director? Is there some other person in that power combination that can make things a little bit easier? That's been one thing that I've always found fascinating is maybe not always the people that hold those top line positions, but you start to realize, like the first time I realized about Mark Pantoni, like I didn't know about him from the jump. It wasn't like when he was hired or when I automatically understood what his importance was going to be.
Mark
like
Pantoni, the director of player personnel for Ohio State, for those for the uninitiated.
Like when I finally realized the importance of people like that, that's when I wonder if Matt Campbell could thrive at a place like Texas, as long as there's some Mark Pantonis out there. I mean, some Larry Johnson's stepping up today, getting that dub. You saw they were also down Greg Madison. They were down 3 other assistant coaches in addition to 23 players.
That was that.
Ohio State did its job, man.
Yeah, need to see that out of Ohio State.
So can we stop now? Can we stop with the I don't know how good Ohio State is or if it deserves to be in the top 4 stuff?
I mean, yeah, we can like that addressed some of those objections. Sure. I think that they were fair because they had 4 games under their belt. Now they got 5, yes, that game. Yeah. Like that's what we've been waiting to see.
I just feel like today was a vindication for them though, because there had been so much talk and I've talked about it. I felt like they were being punished for not beating Indiana by enough. And today they come out missing 3/5 of their offensive line, a bunch of players in the secondary, coaches, and they just absolutely spank Michigan State. And by the way, while that's going on, the Indiana team that they only managed to beat by a touchdown smothered Wisconsin in its sleep and put it to bed. You know what I mean? Like Indiana turns out pretty good. And Ohio State struggled with them, but they got past it. It's like, I don't know. I just felt like the last few weeks, there's been so much attention focused on Ohio State only beating Indiana by 7 while we've been ignoring other playoff contenders and teams that people are kind of putting above the Buckeyes saying, well, they probably deserve it more. Like they haven't struggled in similar games. So I just want today to shut everybody up pretty much.
That's fair. It's fair, but I think, look, we needed Indiana to have that game against Wisconsin. We needed Ohio State to have that game against Michigan State, because you can still retroactively poke a lot of holes in Ohio State's resume, and of course, that's fine. That shouldn't be a big deal, except for the fact they'd only played 4 games or whatever. 4 games. So the teams that have played 10 and have a couple close calls along the way, then that's a little bit different. So I think
but I'll ask you this then, and we can maybe use this as a segue into the next thing. How many games did you really need to see Ohio State to play before you were convinced it's better than Texas A&M?
Well, that's fair. I mean, a Texas A&M, man, like that they're on the flip side. Like you just want, I mean, just give me something, Texas A&M. Just make. Are
you not impressed at all?
Try to make an argument.
I thought they played well, though. Eliminate their college football playoff contention. Eliminate us trying to like measure them against the top.
But that is what we're doing. No, they did play well. They did play well. If you aren't engaging in that discussion,
right.
Yes, like in just generally speaking, Texas A&M looked good.
They win football games.
Yeah, their offense was clicking today. Well, it didn't look like it did last week against LSU. That's a good thing. Like they had.
They ran the ball for like more than 300 yards at like 7 yards per carry. And you know what? Kellen Mond didn't do anything through the passing game because they were like, okay, you can't stop this. We're just going to keep running it at you. And it worked.
Look, I'll say this. Texas A&M doesn't look a whole lot different week in, week out than Notre Dame. I think that's probably their best case, is the fact that like Notre Dame does some ugly stuff too. Notre Dame, beats Louisville 12-7. Notre Dame, I mean, and
I would say Notre Dame does it at a higher level, and I would say that Notre Dame has more impressive wins.
Well, that's my point. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you are, I mean, I'm not arguing that Texas A&M is better than Notre Dame or has a better resume. I'm just saying that if you're looking for like your best case,
I mean, Florida's basically
argument,
just like North Carolina, right? I mean, in terms of value.
I'm not on board with that.
No, I get what you're saying. I mean, yeah, it's the difference. The biggest difference, obviously, is that Texas A&M has that 24-point loss to Alabama on its resume. But it's just, yeah, they played well today, and that's fine. But it's like when we were on HQ on Friday, like I said, that this was the team that I was most like the game I was interested in watching because. As far as Texas A&M being a good team, I'm already convinced Texas A&M is a good team. It's just as far as Texas A&M being a playoff team, I needed to see them start beating the hell out of somebody because that's really just something that they haven't done and shown a penchant for doing all season long. And I felt like this game against Auburn was their last real chance to do it against somebody that's good enough that it would impress anybody. So I think that today was a good win, and I think that they played very well. I just don't think a 31-20 win over Auburn is going to cause anybody in that committee in a couple weeks when A&M's not getting a chance to play in the SEC title game to sit around and say, yeah, I'm convinced that team's better than whatever this other team we're considering. I think that it just kind of clinched the fact that they're going to be left out.
What do we think about Tennessee kicking in that back door?
That sucked. That was brutal. That's 2 weeks in a row I've lost an SEC backdoor cover. I mean, I don't know what to, I mean, nothing was surprising. Obviously, nothing was surprising about that game. Nothing changed with Tennessee with Harrison Bailey, and he had one pretty good drive, which was for a scoring drive. But aside from that, it was sort of the same old Tennessee offense, and I don't know. They did better than most, maybe even containing Florida defensively, but not good enough. And Jeremy Pruitt was very candid in his post-game presser and acknowledging that they're too far apart from the teams that they're supposed to be, where they want to be. He's 0-9 against Georgia, Florida, Bama. And those are the teams he has said he needs to be beating in this job. So got a hell of a long way to go still.
Here's a question for you from this game.
What is the passcode to the Hugh Freeze at Tennessee Zoom meeting that is happening in like 10 minutes?
No.
But it's not though, because he's going to get at least one. He's going to get one more year.
Okay.
So next, but the Hugh Freeze.
Did we talk about this? That's the Lane Kiffin play. Like Lane Kiffin, first year at FAU, gets a lot of buzz. Second year at FAU, doesn't even matter like how FAU finishes. He's already hot. And so it's like Hugh Freeze has already done his job with Liberty with the season that gets him hot. It's like next season they could be 7-5 or 8-4, but it's Hugh Freeze from Liberty.
Right.
Here's my question about this game. Kyle Trask threw 4 touchdowns, all right? None of them went to Kyle Pitts. So I ask you, is Kyle Trask deliberately not throwing touchdowns to Kyle Pitts to make sure that Pitts doesn't help split the vote for his Heisman and enhance his own Heisman case?
No, because I watched a lot of that game, and I think that Trevon Grimes got a lot of advantage from Kyle Pitts being double covered in red zone situations.
All right. Well, do we want to start that conspiracy anyway? Is there trouble with the Super Swamp Brothers?
Devonta Smith has a lead in my Heisman straw poll over Kyle Pitts for non-quarterbacks winning the Heisman Trophy.
So, like when you catch on to like a band before they're hot, and like you become like you listen to all their songs, get all their albums, and then they go mainstream, and the music's just as good, but now like everyone likes them. So you kind of like well, maybe I should, like, I don't know. Do I really want to like this team anymore? This band? It's a little bit what I feel like right now. Like everyone, it's like the cool thing to do to talk about Devontae Smith for Heisman. So I don't know, but this is what I've been trying to do is get this mainstream. Can I at least get like some like a tip of the cap for getting out in front of this 3 weeks ago?
I'll sign your name to my Heisman ballot.
Hey, where are you at, Tom? Give us a hint. Can you give us a hint?
I can give you the same hint I gave you last week. I think that a wide receiver will win a Heisman Trophy before another running back does.
I do feel like this got him into like the pre-made Heisman graphics. Tom even sent it to our Cover 3 thread. The pre-made Heisman candidate graphics that they're running under every game, like Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, and Zach Wilson, and
Ian Book stat. Did you see the Ian Book stat though?
Career wins.
QB wins 10.
Why did they put the career wins number up there? Why did they show that Ian Book's an undefeated 15-0, perfect as a starter at Notre Dame Stadium? Why didn't they show how Ian Book has led to wins in 33 of the last 36 Notre Dame football games? Come on.
I just think we got a chance to start getting Devontae Smith on like those graphics. Don't you think?
I think he should already be on the graphics.
Yeah, of course. But I'm saying, I think he's starting to get mainstream a little bit.
Yeah, no, if
I go pop.
I think he's the best college football player in the country.
I think if he has, because the thing too, like Alabama has not played in an important game in a while. Like they've just been beating the hell out of everybody. So I feel like if he has a big game against Florida in the SEC title game, it's really going to start. Before we move on from Alabama, though, shout out to Chicago kid Jaleel Billingsley, who's having a really good season for the Tide. Had another big game tonight, 4 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown.
Alabama continues to surge away from the pack. We're going to have at least 2 blowout playoff games, I think.
What's in the 2-3?
What are the teams that are going to be in the 2-3?
Yeah.
Ohio State and the winner of the ACC title game.
So who's the other blowout?
The loser of the ACC title game.
I'm saying the blowouts are going to be the 2 games Alabama plays.
Yeah.
Oh. So the championship too.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's gonna run with those guys right now?
I was catching what you were putting down.
No,
hey, like Will Anderson
is
a beast. Christian Harris is playing well tonight as well. I mean, the defense is fun to watch as the offense sometimes.
Yeah, but that was against LSU. And I say this as someone who came out on a lock with LSU plus 29.5. But like,
at what point did you get nervous about that? When Nick Saban said
first quarter?
When Nick Saban,
no. I felt fine. I felt better because we had a couple answers. There was the one to get us to 10 and the one to get us to 17. I was like, ooh, okay. I start running some math in my head. You know, when you do that live calculator watching the college football game. Yeah, I did not do that once we started to get a little bit deeper into the fourth quarter.
But I mean, they were covering the spread by halftime, Chip. It was a 29-point spread, and they had that thing covered at halftime.
Chip was just counting on a backdoor. Backdoor never came.
You needed Jared Stroud to get in there, toss a touchdown.
Incredible stuff. What else from the notepad?
Let me see here. Congratulations to you on winning the lock fight.
Who?
Wolfpack.
Chip.
Did you watch? Did you watch much?
Yeah, I had it on a second screen the entire time because it was a lock fight and there was money on it. So I was watching it. Yeah, that was, NC State. I had some NC State fans.
Good football team. Good football team.
Yeah. Great team.
I didn't say great team. I said good football team.
Very, very good. Very good. Yeah.
When
Got that point differential up to 15 now.
When they wanted to get it done, they lean on that offensive line and the running game. Ricky Person Jr., Bam Knight, like they've had something going there for a couple years now. They get high school tight ends, and shout out to Aleem the Dream McNeil. He announced prior to the game he was going to be going pro, so this was his senior night of sorts. Sanderson High School. Dude was a linebacker in high school. Now he's a freaking defensive tackle who might be going to the NFL draft. It was a nice way to round out a very, very successful season for NC State.
Shout out to Tom Arth, Kyle Chandler, Coach Taylor.
Yeah.
Akron put a beat down on Bowling Green today.
The Bowling Green thing is just, it's not even fun anymore. They're too
It's
bad. Yeah. They need to just they're just too bad.
Like, I was really enjoying that game for a while because it was 3-3, like through the first quarter and into the second quarter. And it was just kind of like it was like everything that game was supposed to be. And then Akron just turned it on. They scored a touchdown to go up 10-3. The next possession, Bowling Green got, stopped deep in its own territory. Akron blocked a punt, recovered it in the end zone. And so in the blink of an eye, it's gone from 3-3 to 17-3. And then it was just done from there. It was sad because I was enjoying it.
I'll tell you the game that I didn't watch enough of that may have been the game of the day was that Arkansas-Missouri game. I kind of got a little wind to kind of how things closed in that one, but I never really got a steady watch on it. But it seemed like it was a pretty awesome game.
I was live blogging Ohio State. Totally missed it. Did you get anything on it, Tom?
I got the last minute and a half when everybody on Twitter was like, "Oh," I saw the Arkansas touchdown at the end. I saw the crazy 2-point conversion, and then I saw Mizzou march down the field and get the game-winning field goal. So the minute and a half, 2 minutes I saw were great.
Two good coaches right there. Drinkwitz and Pittman. Those are two good hires.
That's going to be a fun rivalry for the next few years, I think.
They fight for the boot, right?
I'm not big.
No, that's Louisiana.
Louisiana. That's right.
I'm not sure if Arkansas and Mizzou have a trophy yet.
I think it's maybe called the Battle Line Trophy.
It should be a moonshine still.
Maybe so. I'm trying to see if there's anything else.
Nebraska won. Look out. Here comes Scott Frost. Penn State won.
Penn State kicked Rutgers' butt. Penn State's finally starting to look like Penn State.
Cal.
Yeah, did we talk about that yet?
We mentioned it in passing.
I mean, I feel cheated. Oregon let me down.
You know why Oregon lost? Because it wore gray uniforms. And I tweeted about this. It's stupid, I know, but Oregon came to relevance because Nike put all the money into it, and they started putting out their shiny brand new uniforms every single week where they're wearing bright green and bright orange and shiny chrome and silver and all this stuff. And then today they come out in gray. And I liked it. The uniforms looked good. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like gray uniforms go against everything that Oregon has been for the last 20 years. So I'm going to blame the uniforms for this one.
It's fair. Stern, but fair.
Sometimes you just got to be honest with them. You got to tell them how it is.
All right. Before we get out of here, letter grade, Shane Beamer to South Carolina.
Oh, no, man. I can't do these letter grades.
Yeah, I can't do it.
C plus.
C plus.
C plus is the grade I give instead of just going, oh.
I give it puzzling. Puzzling.
Oh, another quick shout out to Kansas for kind of almost winning a game today.
Hey, shout out to the Over Army for all the good recommendations on the overs. Y'all are all court-martialed because your recommendations sucked. I did with the one I played. Coastal BYU didn't hit. The one that came in second was Texas Tech Kansas, which didn't get close to hitting. Producer Coca offered up Marshall Rice, and then got pissed at me for not taking it, and that came like 30 points from hitting. They pretty much all were misses, guys. So I need you to go back to the drawing board. Give me some.
Does it make you feel under? Does it make you feel better to see the under collapse in what was it? It was
in West Virginia, Iowa State.
No, we got that one because of the sad field goals.
Oh yeah. No, Kansas State and Texas. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that one was horrible.
Yeah, but you know what? That was one of those like where when you lose an under like that one, that's just like okay. Like
exactly.
I don't even feel bad about that pick. That's one of those like outlier games because like when the game goes that far over or below a total, even Vegas was wrong. So why should you feel bad?
And
just
Barton
sit back and enjoy the freshman slugfest between Deuce Vaughn and Bijan Robinson.
Exactly.
And Barton did get his under 51.5 or under 52.
Never a doubt. Never a doubt. Oklahoma State TCU.
Yeah. Your over Army, how did it lead you? And what did the under do? It just nursed you right there to a victory.
Sometimes you gotta make alliances with certain folks for the greater good of the war.
Oh, one final shout out to a team that was forgotten by its conference, and I don't want to join the parade there. Nice job, Miami. Completely pointless at this point, but nice job.
So hold on. I think it's the first shutout conference win since like 2001.
Yeah.
This is like like Miami just beat Duke 45-0 to finish this season. What, 9-1?
I think they still have to play next week, though, don't they?
Yeah, they got North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
They could lose that game.
They could. But to this point, this has been the most, like, everyone's been just like begging Miami to get good again. And all of a sudden they're like, one of the best teams in the country, but no one's even talking about
doesn't even care about them.
I don't even want them to try to, like, there's like, thanks, Miami.
And we're going to change the schedule to make sure that you can't play for the conference championship.
And meanwhile, Derek King's going to be gone next year. And who knows if Miami's going to be good again. Maybe they will. But this is sort of an opportunity for Miami to be a big deal. And they're not.
I saw I feel like someone made the case that like Miami fans will treasure Derek King probably even more than the college football hipsters who liked him as Houston's quarterback,
Well, yeah, that's just Barton's band theory there about Devontae Smith's Heisman campaign. It's like you really liked Derek King before he became cool and popular. Now you're like, yeah, I'm more of a Grayson McCall guy.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah.
But like the Miami fans are the bandwagon fans who only been listening to G105, the pop station, and had no idea about your 3 albums you released before you signed with Epic Records. And like now we're finally dialed in. And I think that track 4 is the best because track 4 is where the radio single is. Yeah, absolutely. Miami fans are going to love Derek King in a very special way.
Remember track numbers? Remember when
I do. I absolutely do. He is Tom Fernelli. You can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fernelli. He is Barton Simmons. You can follow him at Barton Simmons. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.